Allegedly deceptive practices by Uber reportedly prompted Apple's CEO to threaten to pull the company from Apple's App Store. The extraordinary episode is revealed in a New York Times profile of Uber CEO Travis Kalanick. It says Apple CEO Tim Cook summoned Kalanick after learning Uber broke Apple's privacy guidelines. Neither Uber nor Apple commented on the meeting. New York Times technology reporter Mike Isaac wrote the story. He's in Washington. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's extremely rare for the CEO of Apple to call in another company for a scolding. What happened?
Yeah, so Uber had been essentially trying to implement a technology solution to a large amount of fraud that they had in their platform. The problem was a lot of those solutions were tricky and obfuscated from Apple. And so Tim Cook essentially wanted to make kind of an example out of Uber by calling in Travis Kalanick and giving him a sort of scolding in his office and saying, knock this off or we're going to pull you from the App Store, which would have essentially tanked Uber's business.
Never good to be called to the woodshed, but certainly not good to be called to the woodshed so publicly. What do you think is the outcome of this conversation, and how do we know about it?
Well, I spent the past 3 or 4 months reporting this out and spoke to about 50 different people over who have known Mr. Kalanick throughout his career and life. Mm-hmm. And so a number of those sources were just sort of worried about Uber's willingness to push the boundaries of what is acceptable and what's really ethical in business. That said, all of Mr. Kalanick's tactics have really worked. You know, Uber is worth close to $70 billion, so they haven't had that much of a punishment except for a pretty public PR crisis right now.
Well, Mike, the mantra is growth above all else. What does that say?
I mean, the tone is set from the very top, and Travis seems to, really care about growth a lot. Right now, he's taking a drubbing in public, so we'll see if that actually makes him change his leadership stance, which has always been aggressive, but I haven't seen any indication.
There's no indication at all that he's willing to, he understands the problem he's in and he understands that he's got to do something?
Well, Charlie, I think, to be fair, they said they are looking for a chief operating officer right now, essentially a strong number 2 to back Travis up. And he has said publicly he needs leadership help. So some folks are saying, maybe this episode actually broke through to the boss, and then others that I've spoken to are kind of skeptical, and they've known the guy his whole career, and he seems to have a way of doing things. So we'll see if he's actually learned.
We reached out to Uber, and they told us this, quote, "We do not track individual users or their location if they've deleted the app, but they do collect location data up to 5 minutes after the trip ends." Aren't there still a number of privacy concerns when it comes to Uber?
Yeah, I think that's right. A lot of folks were pretty upset at Uber's decision to essentially force you to keep location tracking on after you had closed your app and finished the trip. Now, like you said, there's a 5-minute window, and Uber sort of maintains this is to help GPS and mapping settings. But still, it's made some folks uncomfortable. But it's a trade-off, essentially, if you want to continue using the app and hopefully make it better.
All right, Mike Isaac, we thank you very much for joining us from Washington this morning.
Thank you.